Hey folks, the purpose of this video is to talk through our syllabus for our HR staffing class and to hopefully answer any questions that you might have before you have a chance to ask them. I have heard from students that sometimes it's frustrating when they take an online class. The syllabus doesn't really have all of the information sometimes that they need to be able to really understand how to succeed in the class. So I record these little videos and sometimes they end up going longer than I had wanted to as I'm recording. I just talk, which is the way that I approach life in general and class in specific. But I talk through what I think is important. I talk through things that I think that you might have questions about. And generally speaking, when I get to the end of the class, at the end of the semester, folks will tell me that they really appreciated this particular video in particular because it set them off right to where they knew exactly what they had to do to succeed. So let's take a few minutes and look at the syllabus. If you haven't printed the thing yet, please pause this video and go print a copy of it so that you can make some notes in the margins. And I even suggest to people that they, as they print this thing off and make marginal notes, that periodically they kind of glance at the timer, and if there's something that they're not completely certain about, that maybe they put a note in the margin that, you know, like at the 5:02 mark in the video, he talked about this. And then later, when situations come up and questions arise, they can very quickly go back to this video and find the spot where I talked about something in particular to try to refresh themselves on what I said about it. And if it seems like I'm doing something in the classroom that is different from what I talk about in this video, they can come back to the video and say, wait a minute, you said this, it's in the video for all of eternity. What are you going to do about it, because you're doing it differently than what you said? So there's a lot of benefit to watching this thing and paying close attention to it and making some notes as you go. I'm going to pause for a breath here and a cup of coffee, a swig of coffee at least, while you print that syllabus, and then we will pick back up here in just a second. Good coffee. So I'm assuming that you have printed the video, you've printed the syllabus, which you can see on the screen here. And we're going to talk through real quick some of the things that you need to remember. First of all, here is my cell phone number. I give that to you in full trust that you'll only use it in case of an emergency, but certainly if there is an emergency, you need to get me quickly, and I'm ready for you. I don't have that thing with me all the time. When I'm at work here, I've got it sitting on my desk over here, but a lot of times it's muted so that it doesn't interrupt me when I'm doing these videos and things like that. When I get home, I put it on the counter and I check it periodically. Usually if the sound is on, which normally it is, I hear it beeping or buzzing or dinging or tinkling or whatever, and I go check it. So usually if you text me or if you email me through my GSW account right here, I can get back to you pretty quickly. Again, that is something that students seem to really appreciate and enjoy. They comment on from time to time that I respond very, very quickly. In some cases, within moments of when they text me or email me. In fact, there are a lot of situations that I could give you examples of where somebody sent me an email asking me about something, didn't really explain in their email exactly what they were looking for, and I responded within a few minutes to get a little bit of clarification, and it might be a day before I hear back. So I'm thinking, yeah, you know what, you send me an email not expecting me to respond, and when I do, you're nowhere there. So don't be surprised if you text me, if you email me, and I respond pretty quickly, because that's part of the service that I believe that I owe you as your professor. This class, HR Staffing, really focuses on how to write job descriptions and how to interview people to fill those jobs. And I really like this class. I have developed it a little bit from what I inherited to what I think is a really good class. Regardless of whether you're an HR person or a management person, you're going to be interviewing people. So this is a great class for just about anybody to take, because you learn a lot of great tricks on how to interview people well, how to make good choices in terms of who's the best candidate for a particular job. And as you scroll down here, you see that it says that you will indeed create a job description. You'll think about, based on what I'm trying to hire for here, where's the best place to go to find people? Is it the local Department of Labor and the unemployment office? Is it a headhunter? Is it an ad in the paper? Or is it a posting on monster.com or wherever? But how do you find the best sources and justify those particular places to find jobs? Then we will try to create some questions that you could use in an interview to see if people are qualified to hold this job. We're also going to create a tool, what I call a hiring matrix, that helps you to score your candidates so that when all of your interviews are done, if you've done 3 of them, if you've done 12 of them, you can put these little matrices or matrices side by side, and it should tell you mathematically who's logically the best candidate. And then you factor in the personal feelings and the hunches and the gut instincts and whatnot to be able to make a decision. Then we will actually use those questions and that job description and those tools to interview candidates from our business communications class who are interested in your job, and you will select one of them for a hypothetical job hire. And lastly, we will work on our communication skills as we interact with them and talk to them about what's going on and interview them and give them feedback and so forth. There is one textbook for the class. I've got it over here. It looks like this. There's a picture, a JPEG picture of it on our week 1 module so that you know what you're looking for. Fortunately, it's a book that is in its newest edition, and while that normally is a bad thing because newer editions cost more, what's good about this new edition is that the 3rd edition, Phillips partnered with another writer named Gully, and they used a different publisher instead of Chicago Business Press. And it was this textbook, the last time I taught this class last year, was like $250 or something. But Phillips decided to publish this 4th edition, I think it's a female, by herself, and to use the Chicago Business Press. And it's gone from a hardback to a paperback. Very little has changed, but it's now like $80 or something. That's still a lot of money, but certainly nowhere near $250. But so you'll need to get this book. We're going to use this book, read through this book. There's some examples in the book. There are no quizzes or assignments or things like that from the book, but having the book to read through and to make notes, this may be a book that you put on your bookshelf and you keep going forward and you refer back to when you have to do hiring and so forth. We're also going to have 3 online tests, so you'll need to go through the GSW bookstore to get the access codes. You'll want 3 of those access codes for ProctorU. I don't think that the book is available through Amazon. It really is that new. As you see, it's actually a 2020 publishing date, which is in the future, so it is a really, really new book. You probably have to go through the GSW bookstore to get it, although you might be able to get it through Chicago Business Press. I don't know. Probably not through Amazon. I haven't seen it on Amazon. You got to have the normal stuff for an online class, a good computer, good internet connection. I'll talk about that in a second. Word document, software, because you do a lot of assignments and things like that. You've also got to have a good video camera and a good microphone, because we will do some interactive video calls during the semester, and you're also going to interview candidates through the video conference software. So if you're in a particular part of Georgia perhaps, or part of the U.S. where the internet is not good, this is going to be a challenging class, because you're going to have a hard time doing the interviews, and you might want to rethink whether you take this class. If you have to have it to graduate, we got to figure out something, because we've had some folks in the past try to do the interviews, and the internet connection, the dial-up media or whatever, it makes it just kind of crackle and fade in and out and delay and so forth, which is really difficult. Big part of the early semester is the attendance roll verification. I ask you to do 2 things. The first is the check-in quiz. It's a handful of questions. Basically, it says, which of the objectives are you really interested in from what we looked at a second ago? What's a good email address and a cell phone number that I can get in touch with you if there's an emergency from my end? And then a series of questions. I've read the syllabus. I understand the dates. I understand the grading structure, blah, blah, blah. You also need to do the hello discussion, and all you really got to do there is to say, hey, I'm Mark, I'm in my last year at GSW, I'm an HR major, I'm a management major, whatever it is. I'm in Cuthbert, Georgia, wherever you are. So just something very, very basic. You've got to do both things. If inevitably in the semester there is a student who does one of them but not the other of them, and now I got to go, do I give them credit for doing part of it? Please, this semester, regardless of what your practice has been in the past, make it your goal to do everything, to do it as well as you possibly can, which means do both the check-in quiz and the hello discussion. because you might get removed from class if you don't do both. The deadline for that is Monday, June the 10th by 11:30 p.m. One thing that'll be a little bit confusing in this class is that some things are due at the end of the day on Saturday and some things are due at the end of the day on Sunday. There's a pattern to those things, but not everything is the same. This is one of those oddballs. It's 11:30 on a Monday, but that's just about a week after the class starts, and by then you should have checked in. All right, let's see here. My teaching philosophy, there shouldn't be a lot of difference between an online class and an on-campus class, other than the fact that you don't sit in a room for an hour and 15 minutes twice a week listening to me. You ought to be able to get the same level of instruction through the video lectures, which will be much shorter. I'm going to target about 20 or 25 minutes maybe instead of the hour and 15 that I normally take. But you've got to do a lot of work on your own, and I ask you to be very diligent to read. That is one of the things that gets sacrificed the quickest. When you're in an online class, you don't read. You hope that you can learn it through osmosis or through the video lectures or whatnot. As you see, 3 exams. One of those is the final. All of them use ProctorU. And in a shortened summer semester, sometimes it's difficult to plan far enough ahead to make your appointments to be able to make this thing not cost any more than the cost of the access codes themselves. I believe I understood from one of my ProctorU reps that normally if you can give them a 3-day notice, there's no charge over the bundle. If you give them a 2 or 3 day notice, 1 or 2 day notice, something like that, you have to pay an extra, $8 or something like that out of pocket for a convenience fee to do it quicker, because they have to react a little bit in terms of their staffing. And if you want to take the test today, I call you today at ProctorU to make an appointment for a test today. It's like an additional, actually if it's within 1 or 2 days, it's like $3.50 or something. And if you want to take the test today, it's an additional $8 or something. If you can plan ahead, the whole point of that, you don't have those extra fees, but at worst case scenario, you have to pay like an extra $8 or $9 per test to do the test today. You see a number of different pieces of the grading. It's not purely point-based. That's one of the first things you need to look at on every syllabus. The weighting factor is what's important here. You can see that there are some things that you do a lot of, but they don't count for a tremendous amount of the overall grade. The quizzes, there's 10 of them, but it's only 5%. So if you have to miss a quiz, 1/10 of 5% is a 0.5%. You could theoretically blow off 5 quizzes and still get a very high grade in the class if you do well on everything else, because those 5 quizzes only amount to 2.5% of the overall final grade. We'll talk through these things going down the syllabus. There are 6 participation updates. 3 of them are drop boxes where you type out a little paragraph telling me what's going on. 3 of them are interactive video calls where you just submit a file that says done, or you type done in the text box or whatever. But those are only 5%. Your recruitment plan is also 5%. That's not a huge piece of this course, but I do want to have an activity where you think about where you'd look to find people. The job description that you're going to write is 20%. That's a big part of this class, because if you can't write a job description, it's going to be challenging to read a job description, and that is going to make hiring very, very difficult. So that's 20% of your class. Great. The interview tools, the questions that you develop, and the job hiring matrix are 15% total, so each one is 7.5%. Your interviews is 30%. That's the whole point of this course, is to learn how to interview people. So between your job description and your interviews, you've got 50% of your grade writing here. Most people do pretty well, especially on the interviews, because by the time we get there, we have done so many things to prepare you that it's pretty natural. The butterflies go away after the first one, and you generally do pretty good on these things. And then there's 3 exams which total 20% of your grade. There's a total of 960 points, but again, it's not how many points did you get, but what combination of points as they are weighted. 2 opportunities to get a bonus point each. Let's say that after we've done all of these things and weighted all of these things, and you have an 88.2, if you've done both of those bonus activities, that 88.2 becomes a 90.2, because I add 2 points to whatever your final weighted grade is. So make sure that you do both of those. Let's talk in detail a little bit about those things that are part of your grade. The quizzes, typically are anywhere from, oh, look, there's a typo there, of instead of faux. They typically are anywhere from 5 to 10 questions. They're true, false, and multiple choices. And in some cases, and each one covers one chapter. In some cases, there's 10 pretty good questions that come from the chapter, but in some cases, I can only come up with 6 or 7, maybe 8 good questions. So in a lot of the quizzes, there's some dumb little question like true or false, GSW is located in Florida, or what's the name of this teacher, that ought to give you some pretty easy points on most of these things. The kicker to the quizzes is that they cover a chapter, and I've broken chapters up into pieces, either 2 pieces in some cases or 3 pieces in some cases. Chapter 1 and Chapter 7, one lecture kits the whole thing. But in a number of chapters, there's 3 different pieces, each of which takes a few pages out of the book and takes its own little video lecture. The quizzes are set up to where they will not even show up on your screen until you've looked at all of the video lectures that go with that chapter. So if, let's say, for example, quiz 2, as you see here, that covers chapter 4, you have to look at video lectures 4A, 4B, and 4C before you even see the quiz. It won't even show up as a possibility until you've opened those things. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to watch all 3 of those videos from start to finish, but you do have to open them and access them, and then you'll see the quiz. On a given week, everything that you're supposed to do that week is available to you at 1 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. So in the week that has 4A, 4B, and 4C, you might also have 5A and 5B, but all 5 videos are available Sunday morning at 1 o'clock. All of the quizzes for that week are available Sunday morning at 1 o'clock. So what you probably want to do in this shortened semester is every morning on Sunday when you get up, log in, see what's out there, look at those videos Sunday or Monday, and then suddenly you've got access to all the quizzes and whatnot. There are going to be times when you say, what do you mean I got a 0 on quiz 3? I never saw quiz 3. And I'm going to say, you didn't open the videos that go with quiz 3, whatever chapter that happens to be. So, you can do all of the work for the class in the first part of the week and then just ride the last part. You can wait until the end, whatever you want to do. That all of those things will add up. You know, you got an 8, a 10, a 10, a 4, a 7, a 9, a 10, a 10. All those points add up to, let's say, 89. And that 89 weighted at 5% goes to your total grade. The participation updates, as we said, 3 of them are descriptive documents where you just write a paragraph, a couple of sentences or paragraph about a particular thing. How's it going with your job description? How's it going with your questions and your hiring matrix? Some of them are video conferences where we test your software, make sure it works. In each case, you will submit the file, either the typed file as an attachment to a Dropbox or typing the word done in the text submission box. If it's a video conference call and we have trouble with the audio or the video, you won't get all 10 points. If it's a text Word document that you don't really tell me much, go into much detail, you won't get all 10 points. But generally speaking, you can get all 10 points. That's 60 possible. Let's say you get 60 out of 60. That's all 5 points toward the final grade weighted. You get 50 out of 60. 5 out of 6 is 87% or something like that, 83%. That is weighted at 5%, and that comes to 4.2 points toward the final grade, something like that. The recruitment plan, you're going to look at, based on this job, after we've talked about a lot of different places you can go to hire people for particular jobs, which one of those, what combination of those things, there's some internal sources, there's some external sources. In all, there's 20 or 25 different ways that you can find people to come and interview. Which combination of those things, what 4 or 5, 8, whatever, make the most sense for this job and why? But included in that list are some places that you would not go to. They just don't make sense for this job. What are they and why? How well you do on that is graded on a 100-point scale, and that weights at 5%. The job description, 20%. It's a very detailed document, and it's worth 100 points. Whatever you get out of that, 80 out of 100, 95 out of 100, whatever, times 0.20 goes towards your final grade. The interview tools, as we said, the questions that you're going to ask, and the hiring matrix for both of those. I'll give you something of a template, but I don't want you to take the template and just type into it and submit it right back to me. I want you to think about the structure and the style and what makes sense to you and create your own. Each one of those is worth 100 points. You get 80 out of 100 on one, you get 95 out of 100 on the other. That's 175 points out of 200. That is some percentage. Weighted at 0.15 goes to the final grade. Hopefully this is making sense. I'm trying to go through this in a hurry so that it doesn't take too long to do this video. The interviews, you're going to have video conference interviews with anywhere from 4 to maybe 7 people from the business communication classes, depending on how many of them there are and how many of you there are. And they will provide me with feedback when your video interview is over. And all of that works into a really elaborate spreadsheet that I've created that gives you a grade on a 100-point scale. I'm going to have another video where I talk through all of that so you know how to prepare. That weights at 30%. And then 20% on your exams. Generally, they're open for 3 or 4 days. In the first 2 exams case, for instance, they're available over a weekend, so you can log in anytime you want to. The third one is the last week of classes, and it is during the finals week, and it's only open for, I think, 3 days, so you got to really plan that one ahead of time. But I tell you down here when they are going to be available and what's on each chapter. You'll notice that we don't take the chapters in order in this class from the textbook. We do them in an order that helps us to accomplish our goal of being able to do these interviews. So the first one is open for 4 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It covers 5 different pieces of the class. The second one is open Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It only covers 3 chapters. The third one is open for 3 days, and it covers 3 chapters. And then there is what I call a final exam, but really it's 2 questions, and basically is, what you like about this class and what should I do differently. And if you do that, you can get one of those 2 bonus points. The other of the 2 bonus points is the check-in quiz, which is also the enrollment verification. So you want to do the check-in quiz for 2 reasons. Number one, because it gives you credit for being in the class and you get your financial aid and all that kind of stuff, but also because it gives you a bonus point at the end of the semester. Hopefully that all makes sense. If I talked through it too fast, let me know and I'll try to clarify something later. Cheating, don't do it. There's the specific language in there on what happens if we have good reason to believe that you have cheated somehow, what the punishments are. Missed work, please try to turn things in according to the due date. I will take it 1 day late, but after that, unless there is just some amazing reason why it needed to be late, it's going to be a 0. The quizzes, the exams, there are windows, ahead of time, get them done on time. You have all week to do the quizzes if you look at the videos early in the week. Here's the Galileo password. Important dates, not only from the semester, GSW, but from our particular class when things are due. Excuse me. And then here's a little page that you can print that gives you an idea of how you want to schedule your time if you want to do a little bit every day. Now again, on Sunday the 9th at 1 o'clock, you're going to have the videos available for 4A, 4B, 4C, Interview 1, and Interview 2. All 5 videos are available that morning. The quiz is available that morning, but you won't see the quiz until you've looked at all 3 of these videos. The update is going to be due on Saturday. On the 16th at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're going to have the videos for Interview 3, Chapter 6A, 6B, and 6C. The quiz for the interviews is available on Sunday morning because it doesn't make sense to give you the quiz this week because you won't have seen the 3rd video. Update 2, their job descriptions due here. Here's where the exam window is for exam 1 and so forth. I don't schedule anything at all on the 4th. Some of you will do all of this stuff early in the week so that you've got the latter part of the week to catch up on stuff if your schedule has gotten messed up for some reason. Some of you will do each thing each day according to what I suggest. I encourage you to do stuff early on. This job description that you have to create, you need to have looked at all 3 of these videos before you do it. So if you wait until here to look at the videos, you're going to be creating a job description in really short time, and it's not easy. If you look at all of those things here, you've got the whole week to work on it. Same thing with the questions in the matrix. Most of that you can do by looking at the 3 interview lectures and little parts of the Chapter 6 lectures. So the earlier you look at them, the more time you have to work on these 2 documents. Okay? The recruitment plan. It really comes from Chapter 6. That's where the sources are that you can use to find candidates. But because we've already got 2 things due here, I've deferred the recruitment plan to here. The interviews start here and go here. And I'll tell you in a different video how we're going to handle those things. But you really need to have a good job description, good questions, and a good matrix before you get here. So again, the earlier you can do those things and get feedback and make revisions to them, the better. One last thing that I got to throw in here is that it looks like, especially for the summer semester, you're not going to be interviewing candidates by yourself. You're going to have a partner. So it's going to be 2 of us interviewing 1 of them. And so you will do a job description by yourself and get feedback, and then you'll get with your partner and you'll kind of merge your 2 together to come up with the final version of the job description. You'll do your questions by yourself. You'll do your matrix by yourself. Then when you get feedback, you'll get with your partner and you'll combine your 2 to create the final documents. So in order for all of that to happen, if by the first interview, you've got to do them early. So please, if you don't hear anything else from this video, hear this one thing. Do your work as early as you possibly can. Be disciplined during the summer so that you can get work done early and have more time to adjust and to adapt. All right, that's all 9 pages of the syllabus. I hope that answers most of your questions. There will be some questions that didn't get answered because I didn't feel like I could take a whole lot more time on this video, but I'll have other videos that you can watch that give you some of the answers that you're missing here. For the time being, though, if you've got the basics, you understand basically the grading structure and the pieces of the class, you're in pretty good shape to start the semester, and you can start looking for those activities and those videos and things like that. Hope that it all makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't, and be looking for some more videos here to come shortly. Bye for now.